The United States has the biggest weapons arsenal in the world and is the only country to have ever used nuclear bombs during war. All of the nuclear weapons stockpile management and nuclear weapon technology come from two locations in the United States: Los Alamos Laboratory, New Mexico, which is surrounded by a giant plot of desert, and Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, a square-mile facility located right next to a city of 90,000 people. If a large-scale disaster or nuclear accident happened here, it would affect the entire Bay Area, comprised of San Francisco, Oakland, with 7 million people living in it. This blue well behind me is used to measure radioactive runoff from the Lawrence Livermore Lab. The United States used to blow up full-scale nuclear weapons in open air until the 1963 Limited Test Ban Treaty, which permitted the continuation of nuclear testing underground. In 1992, Congress passed the Nuclear Testing Moratorium Act, which banned all nuclear testing. However, the treaty is not yet ratified, and the U.S. still has over 5,000 nuclear weapons, 2,000 of which are on readiness alert at all times. To compensate for the loss of full-scale underground nuclear testing, the Department of Energy created the Stockpile Stewardship program, which built new facilities that test different components of a nuclear weapons explosion, using supercomputers to put them all together. Most of the PR surrounding the Lawrence Livermore Lab gives the impression that it's a technology innovator working to harness the energy of the sun to create clean energy for the world. As it turns out of the Lawrence Livermore Lab's $1.5 billion annual budget, less than 1% is alternative energy. The rest is defense and nuclear weapons development. Another more elusive site buried in the hills behind the Lawrence Livermore Lab is called Site 300, a live-fire explosives test range where they blow up highly radioactive compounds used to simulate many of the nuclear systems designed at the lab. Site 300 is mountainous, with many watersheds and canyons, making contamination easy to spread and cleanup extremely difficult. At Site 300, we found that they are testing depleted uranium and tritium, the radioactive hydrogen of the hydrogen bomb, in open-air tests. Site 300 happens to be located in a very high-velocity wind area. We took a closer look at Lawrence Livermore Lab and Site 300 and found out if the Livermore community is aware of its impact on their health and the environment and the potential danger it poses to the entire San Francisco Bay Area. Do you know about the Lawrence Livermore Lab?
Yes.
I mean, it's common knowledge to grow up in Livermore.
Oh, here we go.
What?
I'm aware of it, yeah.
What is it that you think they do there?
At the lab? Oh, it's government testing on all kinds of different things.
I'm not really educated to exactly what they do. You gonna tell me?
I know they do a lot of research, and they have like the top scientists from all over the world that work there.
They used to do like nuclear devices, but to my knowledge, they don't really do that anymore.
Well, what I think they do there is research and development.
What do you think it is they do there?
I worked there for nearly 30 years.
So what did you do there?
I don't know, my dad works in the machine shop there. I don't know what he does, though.
In many ways, Livermore is a community that's in denial. And it's also a community that I would call disempowered, because you have a super secret nuclear weapons laboratory and a community around it that's supposed to not ask questions.
We went to the lab in Site 300 to try to find out more.
I need you to turn that off, please.
Isn't this publicly funded property?
It's federal. Can you turn it off just to make? I gotta call my captain.
Can you go ahead and turn the camera off?
I don't know. I read somewhere that they were testing depleted uranium, and I was like, that can't be true.
No, nothing nuclear.
What we've been able to place together from FOIA requests and from their public documents is that they've released over 1 million curies of radiation from the lab since 1953 when they opened. That's about the same amount of radiation that was released in the bombing of Hiroshima.
The state health department did a study of childhood cancers, and this was a record study covering 30 years. And they found that children born in Livermore had 6 times the expected rate of malignant melanoma. The study also found that for 1 decade, there was a 3-fold increase in brain cancer in Livermore children.
Do you think that there's any sort of impacts on the environment or the health of the community with the testing that they're doing there?
Probably a very little over what most all of us do every day.
None that haven't been around since I was a kid, so I don't know. I mean, I've survived.
Yeah, because they've had some problems with the, releases of some of the poisons.
I know that there was plutonium in a park near my house when I was growing up.
During the 70s and the 80s, the Lawrence Livermore Lab was flushing radioactive materials, including plutonium, down the drain, and it was recycled by the City of Livermore's sanitation department as compost. The city then gave away the toxic compost as landscaping. Local residents around the lab have even coined a neighborhood park, Plutonium Park, which is located adjacent to a school.
They kept a logbook, a guest register, and so people signed it. But one day the lab showed up and took it with them, and it's never been seen again. So there's no way to track who has this plutonium-contaminated sludge, or if the particular bit of sludge they took home has plutonium contamination in it or not. And amidst all of this, Livermore Lab went and got some of the sludge because they were interested in looking at the uptake of plants after, a nuclear war.
Obviously, most cities don't dump plutonium into their sewage treatment plants, so that's a unique experience to our area.
One of the most impressive PR campaigns coming from the lab is the National Ignition Facility, or the NIF.
It's a mega laser that they love to talk about how it's going to save the world through creating nuclear fusion energy. Most of what the National Ignition Facility is for is stockpile management. And it's really a way for them to test nuclear weapon components because it creates an environment in that chamber that is similar to the environment created by a nuclear weapons explosion.
Just like many war technologies that the U.S. government rebrands as peace through force, the Stockpile Stewardship program is nothing more than a cloak on the continued and unabated nuclear arms race.
We have a nuclear weapons complex that is still stuck in the Cold War era.
80% of the American population tell pollsters that they would feel safer if no country, including the United States, had nuclear weapons.
Despite the moratorium, we continue to find a way to test nuclear weapons. But by testing each component of a nuclear bomb separately with Site 300, the NIF, and supercomputers, they're able to pacify the public. However, in the back of our minds, we all know that at any moment, by mistake, by miscalculation, or by madness, life as we know it could end on this planet. How is the looming threat of nuclear annihilation affecting our daily lives?